Hello everyone, Norda is here and welcome a new episode of Real Talk with Norda. Let me introduce my dear guest. It's Shamsa. She's from Oman and she is dyslexic. She was diagnosed with dyslexia and dyscalculia at the age of 11 and she went through the Davis program, but it was only 2 weeks. She's a student in the final term of university and her hobbies include researching and writing. She is lead author for chapter being published by Palgrave and Macmillan, and it's about education and technology. She is interested in educational technology and she wants to create something useful then can contribute to better enabling all individuals to reach for their potentials in education system. And welcome, dear Shamsa, on new episode of Real Talk with Norda. I'm really happy because you are here.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yes, are you ready?
Yeah, definitely. Let's dive in.
I will ask you same questions as I did before because I want to people see how similar and how different we dyslexics are. So, Shamsa, please tell me what it was like when you find out you had dyslexia.
Yeah, so firstly, I was sort of in denial. I was scared, somewhat ashamed. My mom tried to comfort me and tell me, it's okay and it's nothing to be ashamed of or worried about. But, being told basically that your brain functions differently to all your peers, it made me
Yes.
feel ostracized. So I worried about like being bullied, and the school I was in at the time, it had like a culture of bullying. So I was really
Oh,
worried about that, and word got out pretty fast that I was dyslexic, and I was expecting to have rude comments and everything. But there's something that one of my peers said that I'll never forget, which was actually comforting. She was like, "Shamsa, I heard you're dyslexic," and I was like waiting for some sort of rude remark.
yes.
But instead, she was like, there are plenty of people that are dyslexics. And actually, my cousin is dyslexic and it's nothing to be ashamed of. And, I was ready to be defensive. So I was like, I'm not ashamed. But internally, I was so thankful for what she said because I really needed to hear that at that time. So the narrative
Oh,
changed over the
great.
years. Yeah, so the narrative
Yes.
for me changed over the years, and I have like a much different outlook on dyslexia now. But back then, it was like, fear almost, like I'm different. Is
Yes.
this a good or a bad thing?
Is it your attitude towards dyslexia positive or negative now?
Now,
And
yeah, so dyslexia is like part of who I am. So I think over time, accepting dyslexia as part of who I am has given me like a positive attitude about myself and my abilities. I don't really feel either or towards dyslexia in itself. I'm more so positive about me, and I figured out what works for me. So the only time I felt negative towards it is when like I was in an environment that didn't have support. So my school at the time didn't have any support. I had to get like support outside of my school in a different country.
Mhm.
So at the time I was like constantly putting so much effort into school, and I wasn't seeing the fruits of my labor. So like I was
Yes.
failing, and that's why I felt like you know I had dyslexia to blame. But really it wasn't my dyslexia, it was actually the environment I was in. And when I was taken out of that environment, I realized that, hey, that wasn't me, it's not my dyslexia, it was just the environment I was in. And then I just started excelling, and seeing that made me feel a lot more positive about myself. Yeah.
And what are your dyslexia strengths and weaknesses?
So I have a terrible memory. Like my working memory, I prefer things in writing so I can go back and
Same.
revisit them. Yeah, I have like calendars, reminders, notes. So as you know, it's not so much of a problem because I have those, but my memory just generally is pretty terrible. Um, I'm thankfully finishing university, so like I'm glad that I'm not going to be kind of expected to kind of rely on accessing my memory. I know, sorry for my tangential comment, but like we live in a day and age where we literally have access to the internet, so we can get information online at any point in time. being a mere knowledge consumer and kind of regurgitating information that's given to you and trying to rely on your memory is not necessary. You know what I mean? Like, if you really need to remember something, you can look it up online. There's all sorts of things with
Different
technology, which is
apps
so
and
exactly, yeah, exactly. But unfortunately, the education systems, most of them rely on like exams and having to remember so much rather than like assignments where you can basically like create unique artifacts and not have to rely on that memory thing. So I do terrible with exams as well. It's not my forte. Yeah.
here I am. Yes, same. What is your positive, your like strengths?
Mhm. I'd say that I've become extremely resilient because of the adversity I've faced. So, I've come to enjoy being intellectually challenged. Like, I love learning things for the first time and like figuring out what tools can help me learn new subject matter. Like, I've become a good problem solver because of this, and often I think outside of the box for solutions because I've always had to like venture outside of the box to make things make sense. So I think those would be my strengths.
And could you tell me, how does dyslexia impact your mental health?
Good question. It doesn't anymore. I never really truly realized the kind of the culmination of like my experiences and how it affected me until like I was out of it. So basically, like, when I was school, because I'd always experienced so much failure, like it really made me doubt my intelligence, my ability. Like, I just felt as though I wasn't capable of doing what everybody else was able to do. So because
Yes,
I just kept experiencing that failure, 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 I had that in the back of my head that I can't do this. Even when I was succeeding, it's like I had that, that voice in the back of my head that's like, you're going to fail. It's just about of time.
yeah.
It's like, you're lucky now, but it's going to happen later. So it took me a long time to kind of break that cycle. And it took me experiencing a lot of success to actually be like, hey, you can do this and you're doing it. And you know what I mean? Like, don't listen to that voice. That voice is false. Yeah.
How do you stay motivated?
So I think keeping things exciting. So challenges sort of motivate me, not when it's impossible, of course, but something to challenge me intellectually. We always think about how hard the challenge is, but never how rewarding it is when we've overcome that challenge. And I think that that's like shifting your focus from the challenge itself to the reward after is like a great lesson learned and something that will always make you feel like motivated because you're thinking about the positive after the storm rather than just the storm itself, if you get what I mean.
And how do you feel when it comes to deadlines for assignments or exams? And
Okay.
share with us your dyslexia tips and tricks for everyday life,
Sure.
your strategies.
Okay, so regarding like deadlines and assignments, they don't scare me as much as they used to. In my early years of university, I think the fear of not doing well, that that voice in my head really like gave me sort of like writer's block. Like, I struggled to make deadlines because like I didn't have the confidence. I felt like every sentence that I had to write had to be perfect, and if it wasn't perfect, then the assignment wasn't going to be good enough. And so that I was really in my head a lot. So that was like one thing that I kind of struggled with deadlines. But over time, I've figured out how to kind of just get it all out on paper, and then you can go ahead and hard edit it after. So like, it doesn't have to be perfect at the start, but then once you're done with it, you can go back and edit it. But at the beginning, I had this kind of perfectionist approach, which was like maddening almost. Like, we all want to do well, right? But like, sometimes all we can do is
Yes.
what we can do with the time we have, and it might not be perfect, but you'll improve over time. The first assignment you might submit might not be the best one, but over time within that subject, if you keep submitting and you keep trying, and you figure out what works for you, it will end up being what you want it to be. Yeah, I feel like a lot of the time we're so hard on ourselves and put like so much pressure to perform at our best, which we all want, but sometimes we just need to like do what we can and
Yes.
just keep going at it and improving, and then eventually it will be what you want it to be, as you said. Yeah.
Yes, I agree.
Mhm.
And what do you think? Why is such a negative perception around dyslexia?
I think it's mostly because of misconceptions.
Mm-hmm.
When people hear that I'm dyslexic, a lot of the time it's followed with, oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. when really there's nothing to be sorry
Yes,
about.
yes.
Even when they
Same.
don't, yeah, even when they don't know what it is, like, the ignorance, they don't know what it is, labels as such sort of come with the stigma baggage. People think because you've been labeled with a sort of difference, then it must be bad. So, in my perspective, being different is a beautiful quality. People may not
Yes,
realize it
because we
now.
are all, yes,
Yeah, people might not realize that now, or maybe never will, and others will come to truly appreciate it and see its value.
yes,
In the end of the day, the most important thing is for you to know your own worth and value. And I'm telling you, like, being
I
different is a
agree.
beautiful quality when you accept it and you love yourself for who you are, with both, the struggles and the strengths.
World will be boring place if we are not different. And
Yeah,
yes, we need be grateful because we are all different and unique on our
precisely.
own way. And how have things changed in your life? Is it now better or worse, like
Oh, it's
your dyslexia life?
it's so much better, so much better. Now that I actually know what works for me, I have the confidence in my abilities. Now I don't really need outside support. I'm more so like confident on my own with the tech that I
Great.
have. The internet, and also, it's different, I suppose, because in school you don't have as much access and as much freedom to kind of do what you want in your learning. It's kind of like within those, it's like closed in within those four walls, and you have to kind of do what your teacher asks. But like later on in university, you have a bit more freedom, and then even after that with work, like you have even more so freedom to kind of do things in the way that best works for you. So it does get better over time. So I feel a lot better now, and things are a lot better for me now. Yeah.
Yes, that is really great, because I love here when people say, "Oh, now it's better," and that is really, really great to hear. And what are your dyslexic role models? Could you tell me
Right.
why and how do they inspire you?
Okay, so I mean, there are plenty of amazing dyslexics, who have done great things. But personally, like, my role models aren't actually dyslexic, and I'd be lying to say
Mhm.
that they are. Like, I'm lucky and
Okay.
thankful to not have to look so far to find a role model. Like, my family, my mom, my dad, my brothers, my uncles, my aunts, my cousins, their drive, their work ethic, their resilience has given me plenty to look up to and things to strive to become. Some are and maybe dyslexic, but I don't think it matters, as long as they give you something to look up to that motivates you and pushes you to do better for yourself.
Inspire you.
And that's,
Yes.
yeah, exactly, that's all that's important. So I'm lucky that I didn't have to look so far. Like, I have my family, and I have like even friends that really, like, I can look up to with certain qualities. So yeah.
Yes, great. Great when you have like your environment who inspire you. Yeah, that is really, really great.
Yeah.
And we come on our last question. And what is your message to other dyslexic people
Okay.
who are watching this, or we or will watching this? Yes.
Okay, so as my mom always used to tell me, you can do anything you set your mind to. So for dyslexics that are in school, because I feel like that's when it's most challenging, I know how hard it is, but I advise you to take that challenge head on. Don't think about how hard it is. It's going to be like, think of it as something that's going to be rewarding at the end. So don't think of the challenge, think about the end result. If you're in a situation where you don't really have access to professional help and accommodations, like I did for quite a long time, ask for help from anyone who can and is willing to give it to you. Ask your teachers, your mom, your dad, your siblings, your friends, but you got to put in the work and effort, and you will succeed. It may or may not happen the first or second time, but it'll eventually happen, and you will feel so proud of your achievement. You will acquire such valuable life skills in the process, how to self motivate, think outside of the box to solve life problems, resilience. And I and a lot of the dyslexics in the community can attest to this and are living proof that you can do anything that you set your mind to.
Yes, thank you for being here. And you, dear dyslexics, stay positive and don't forget, keep going. Till next time. Bye.
Bye. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here.